Hey everybody, welcome, welcome to Hidden Horror. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate that. Let's get started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hidden Horror. How are you doing for a Sunday morning? Guess what? I'm back on Idaho 4. A lot has been happening. As you already know, I'm just beyond busy. And I have a few videos. I'm going to try my hardest to keep them short because of my schedule and my commitments. But I'm here today. I want to talk about the Idaho 4. I want to revisit just a little bit, just a tiny bit of what happened. I have to take time sometimes to just recall things. And I went back to some of my first videos, probably like the first 4 or 5 videos that I did when I first started doing videos. And I believe I was doing them on Facebook, and then I went to YouTube because my Facebook page, I got dinged for something. I don't even remember what it was. And I tried to move over to YouTube. And really, Facebook is changing quite a bit, and they're saying that they're going to delete live videos. I haven't looked into it a lot because I've just been extremely busy, but upcoming, I believe this summer, they're going to start deleting live videos that are 30 days or old. So my collection of videos will have to remain on YouTube, and I'm also on X. I really like Facebook because I would have the links to the articles that I'm reading plus my videos. Well, if if Facebook decides to delete my content, I really don't have any control over that. I'm not going to go back for years and download it. I'm going to remain with my YouTube and remain with my X account also, which will have the videos. They will not have the links, but the links will still be on Facebook. So I apologize. I'm giving you the articles, I'm giving you the dates, I'm giving you the writer, so you can always look it up online if you need to. But my apologies. Times are changing. Maybe they're overwhelmed with the amount of content because a lot of people are now content creators or just doing lives. You can do lives, short videos, and all of that. So that's just my spill on that. So the links will always be on the Facebook. The videos might not be if they're deleting them after 30 days. So I guess I'm going to really need people that watch me to watch the videos regular. Maybe you need to hit the notification bell and subscribe so you can be notified when I do a video, because it may not stay on Facebook, but it should stay on YouTube and it should stay on my X account. All Hidden Horror, okay? Hidden Horror. Okay, so let's get into it, right? I went back and I listened to a lot of my original videos, maybe about the first 5, and I'm going to go back more because unfortunately, a lot of what I felt and anticipated is now unfolding. Today, I'm only going to go through the information that's hit the news. These murders happened 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago. And we're just hearing now that there have been unknown DNA under the fingernail swab, the clippings of Madison Mogen. If you go back to the beginning of some of my videos, I kind of anticipated, because of the brutality, because of the stabbings, that there could be some defensive wounds. I think in one of my videos, I showed you my arms. Well, now you can really see, because I was kind of like in a filter in the beginning, just kind of sitting and talking. Well, what I was trying to show you was defensive wounds, you get them. Let me see if I can show you. When a person is fighting back and they're fighting the assailant, you may have defensive wounds. The assailant may have defensive wounds, and then the person, the victim, could have defensive wounds. And where would defensive wounds be? They're usually on the upper body, so you might find them on the hands. You may see cuts because allegedly there was a knife for the stabbing. You may see cuts on the arms. You may see scratches. You may see scratches all on the neck, the upper arms, the chest area, etc. Right? And I told you in a video, I did a whole video on why it was very hard for me to think that Bryan Kohberger was the assailant, or if there were multiple assailants, possibly and potentially, because he didn't have any defensive wounds. I'm sorry, Lo Cientos. I didn't see them. When he was arrested in December, right before New Year's Day, I looked closely because I'm trained. I know what to look for. I didn't see any on his face, his neck, his arms. You know, you couldn't see his full body, but I wonder, had they got did they get a warrant to take pictures of his hands, his arms, his chest area? Because more than likely there was a struggle, there was a battle, there was fighting, there was maybe some grabbing, some scratching, things like that. Sometimes there's biting. A person may bite the assailant, or the assailant may bite the victim. There could be under the nails DNA from scratching, fighting, things like that. So that was my concern in the beginning. And now let's fast forward. That was November of 2022, right? That's when the crime happened. And now we fast forward, we're in March of 2025, and what I said is now ringing true, because some of the evidence through the motions is kind of playing out in court prior to the trial. The trial is supposed to be set for August of 2025. We will see if that happens. There's still some back and forth a little bit in court about different things, but we'll see. But again, as I said, as I warned you, as I kind of told you, I informed you, I'm trying to make this like an educational platform for people that are interested in forensics and crime scene analysis, etc., that you're going to have defensive wounds. And defensive wounds can be on the victim and also the assailant. And I'm not surprised that they clipped the fingernails. I'm not surprised that there's different DNA under those nails. And you can get DNA from anywhere. Now, what type, right? What is the source? Is it blood? Because that's different from skin cells, right? Because skin cells you might get from scratching, right? But blood you want to get from a cut or something like that. So what kind of DNA is it, number one? And there's a mixture, right? So whose DNA could that be? Could it be my own DNA? Possibly, right? I'm in my face, I'm touching my face and all of that. You have skin cells that shed, all of that, right? So some of that mixture could be my own DNA. Or like I have a spouse, right? I'm touching my husband, kissing my husband, you know, all day long, whatever. I could actually have his DNA under my fingernails. Doesn't mean that allegedly, possibly he could be, you know, possible attacker. It's just a closeness, right? It could be my daughter's DNA, for example, my nephew's DNA. I'm close to all these people and I'm encountering them every day. I'm in their space and everything, right? So it's important to understand the context, right? What type of DNA is it? Is it saliva? Like I said, if someone comes and bites my breast, they might leave their saliva. That's DNA. If someone comes and scratches, that's skin cells possibly, right? And then, of course, if that knife slipped and that hand was cut, fingers were cut, etc., that's blood. So those are the three types. And I just want you to have an understanding when we're reading stuff and going over stuff. I mean, I can go and tell you the article, but we also want to have an understanding of what's going on, what's being said. It also helps me to kind of filter out everything, right? Because I'm not a DNA specialist, I'm not a blood specialist. I didn't go to college for biology or a human anatomy or anything like that, but I have common sense and I can apply information. And I want you to as well. So I just wanted to make sure I don't have any comments. So let's talk about the article. Let's talk about the significance and let's understand why. Why would Bryan Kohberger not want this evidence entered into the trial? Because could it be misleading? Could it mislead the jury? We already have seen, and the trial hasn't even happened, misleading information, right? For example, Bryan Kohberger was stalking the girls. He was following them. He was in the neighborhood all the time. And what did I tell you? I did a whole video, right, about uh, the GPS tracking and how they place people and the difference between when they use triangulation and they use those satellites, right? And what's more accurate, right? And I said, hey, I need proof. I need evidence. I need to see where was he at, what time, how long was he there. And you got to remember, these are small communities too. So again, you have some built up areas around colleges that offer all kind of services: dry cleaning, food, restaurants, bars, things that tend to bring people together to make money, right? So this could be an area, I don't know, where people would be a lot. And then you have the fraternities and sororities, you have college students, you have people that know people, all within, say, if the distance is 10 minutes away, you might drive 10 minutes to go to your favorite restaurant or bar or whatever. And could it be close to this 1122 King Road house? Possibly. But again, what did the prosecutor say? That there's no evidence that he stalked these girls, but that persisted, that idea was able to kind of taint the community, taint the public, make people have an idea that he was stalking the girls when in reality that was not true. So again, when I look at that information, and now 2 years later, this comes out that there were three unknown, and we're going to talk about what unknown means, three unknown mixture of DNA under the left hand clippings that were swabbed. Who could those three people be? Could it be the victim? Who was close to the victim? Kaylee was her best friend. They're allegedly in the same room, in the same bed. Could her DNA be under there? Or could there be other potential unknown persons, male suspects? I'm not saying that a female did not or could not do the quadruple homicide. However, I feel that at least one male was involved, at least. Now, however, multiple people could have committed the murders of the four victims. Multiple people, meaning that could be a combination of males and females. So, what is going on with this DNA? This is a mixture. Can you separate DNA? Can you separate one person's DNA from another person's DNA? Three DNA samples. Who do they belong to? Why don't they know? Why wasn't this DNA tested, right? We want to know, right? Let's get into the article. Let's talk about it all. Let's think logically, right? Let's get started. The article, which is on the Hidden Horror Facebook page, check it out. Subscribe. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can be notified when these videos pop up, right? Because I've been missing you guys. I'm trying to get squeezy, squeezy. Okay. The article is from CNN.com. It's titled Three-Person Mixture of Unknown DNA Found Under Fingernails of Victim in Idaho Student Killings Case. The filing shows. So there's emotion involved, right? There's some legal court action going on, and this is how it's being revealed, okay? The article is dated March the 5th, 2025. It's by Jean Caceres and Dalia Fahid. Okay? And I would love to bring up a picture of Maddie. So let me share my screen. I really like to personalize it because so let's see if we can, get a nice picture of Maddie up. Okay. Um, it helps me. I don't like to connect as much so personal, but we're talking about Maddie, so we're not talking about Zaina. We're not talking about Maddie's best friend, Kaylee, and we're not talking about Ethan. Okay. We're talking about Maddie today. And Maddie was found on the third floor. She was found in a bedroom with her best friend, Kaylee, and allegedly they were found both together in the bed. And they both received multiple stabbings. Okay. So let's go over this article. A 3-person mixture of unknown DNA was found under a 21-year-old University of Idaho student's fingernails after she and 3 other students were killed at an off-campus home in November of 2022, a new filing reveals. The new evidence from victim Madison Mogen came more than 2 years after she and Kaylee Goncalves, Kaylee was 21, Zaina Carnota, Zaina was 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20, were fatally stabbed in Moscow, Idaho. Bryan Kohberger, a Washington State University graduate student in criminology, faces 4 counts of first-degree murder. In a motion filed last Monday, the defense asks that the DNA evidence be kept from the jury in Kohberger's upcoming death penalty trial because jurors could believe the DNA is Kohberger's, and according to the defense, it is not. So, let me clean it all up, make it simple and plain. During the autopsy, they should have taken clippings from each victim, both their hands under their fingernails. And in Maddie's case, her left hand was swabbed and it revealed a mixture of 3 unknown persons' DNA. Now, can we figure out if these sources are male or female? Good question, right? I want to know that. But to go more of what they're asking for, Bryan Kohberger's defense is asking that this information is not presented at trial because they feel it would give the idea that can develop in the jurors' minds that this DNA is Bryan Kohberger's. And the defense is saying it is not Bryan Kohberger's DNA. Well, how do they know that? If the DNA is unknown, how do they know that it's not Bryan Kohberger's DNA? Let's keep reading. Let's see if we can figure that out, okay? Because you don't want to introduce any evidence that can mislead the jury, that can confuse the jury. If you clearly know it's not the assailant that has been charged with the crime and that's on trial, why would you introduce that evidence, right? Use that evidence for who it belongs to and charge them, but don't introduce it at another person's trial. That is what the defense is saying. But let's continue. Allowing such testimony would violate Mr. Kohberger's federal and state constitutional rights to due process, a fair trial, effective assistance of counsel, and confrontation of witnesses, argues Becca Barlow, an attorney specializing in forensic DNA evidence, who was added to the defense legal team recently. So let's go over these words. I have my Black's Law Dictionary right here. So they said it's going to violate due process. what is due process, right? We have some rights, we have some federal and some state rights, and they're referring to due process. So, due process, according to Black's Law Dictionary, the conduct of legal proceedings according to established rules and principles for the protection and enforcement of private rights, including notice and the right to a fair hearing before a tribunal with the power to decide the case. Okay, that's due process. So the next one was a fair trial. I don't know if that's going to be in Black's Law Dictionary, but let's see. Because a fair trial is just stating such, right? You have a right to a fair trial. Let's see. Fair trial. A trial by an impartial and disinterested tribunal in accordance with regular procedures, especially a criminal trial in which the defendant's constitutional and legal rights are respected. And really, respected is really not the right word, it should be upheld. We want to uphold those legal rights, those constitutional rights. You want to have an impartial jury, okay? You want to have a fair trial, okay? And then they said effective assistance of counsel. So really, that means that he has this defense team, and you want this to be an effective fighting and litigation of his rights before trial, right? Before he even goes to trial and during the trial, if there's a trial, you want to represent him and you want to vigorously fight for all of his rights, okay, effectively. So he can't later say that I didn't have an effective assistance of counsel, okay? I don't know if that's going to be in here. We can check. I just told you what it is in my own words, but let's see if Black's Law Dictionary has it. Okay, let's see. They're saying go to assistance of counsel. So let's go to the beginning. So we're learning some legal terms today, everybody. Assistance of counsel, representation by a lawyer, especially in a criminal case. Now we have effective assistance of counsel. A conscientious, meaningful legal representation whereby the defendant is advised of all rights and the lawyer is given reasonable opportunity to perform assigned tasks. Okay, so the attorneys are on it, they're doing the best they can do, they're representing him, they're fighting for all of his rights, they're advising him of his rights, he's getting the legal knowledge, and he's being represented effectively. Okay, in the confrontation of witnesses, let's see. And when they say confrontation, it means you want to be able to cross-examine these witnesses, right? Confrontation of witnesses. So there's something called the Confrontation Clause. That's the Sixth Amendment provision guaranteeing a criminal defendant's right to directly confront an accusing witness and to cross-examine that witness. Okay, I'm on it today, y'all. I'm on it. I got it going on. So when there's a witness, he gets the ability to cross-examine him through his defense counsel. And you want to vigorously cross-examine them. So for example, if you have a witness, for example, we can say Bethany Funk, for example, right? Dylan Mortensen, for example, if they're going to be a witness for the prosecution, he has the legal right to confront them, to ask them questions, to tear apart their stories, to create doubt, to uncover things, to ask things that could be contradictory to what they say. All right, that is his legal right. Okay, so his defense team is saying that allowing this DNA is going to have an impact if it's introduced at trial. It's going to violate his right to due process. It's going to violate his right to have a fair trial. His counsel has to effectively represent him, okay? And that he has a right to confront these witnesses, any witnesses, right? Okay, let's continue. A not guilty plea has been entered on Kohberger's behalf, and his trial is set to begin in August. He faces the death penalty if convicted. In grand jury testimony, forensic scientist Jay Miller discussed the test results on a swab of fingernail clippings from Mogen's left hand, according to the motion. The defense argued that the testimony would confuse and mislead the jury, adding that the evidence is overly prejudicial. Because what are people going to assume? If, for example, they create this idea that that is Bryan Kohberger's DNA under Maddie Mogen's fingernail, they're going to say in their mind, link it that he is the killer, right? And they're saying it's not even his DNA. And this is why that evidence should not be allowed because it's going to mislead and confuse the jury. Okay, I'm laying it out for you, baby. Okay, the document shows there was preliminary testing done on the fingernail clippings, and a likelihood ratio was calculated that, according to the defense, proved to be inconclusive. The motion states testing did provide a likelihood ratio for Mr. Kohberger from the analysis, but any conclusion is redacted in the following. It would prejudice Kohberger in that it might allow the jury to infer that the inconclusive data would mean that his DNA might be present in the sample, the defense argued. According to the defense motion, the testing involved a comparison of hypotheses, not a statement of identity or probability of identity. Two hypotheses were looked at. One is that the DNA belongs to Madison Mogen, her best friend Gonclaves, and one unknown unrelated person. The other is that the DNA belongs to Mogen and two unrelated individuals. Mogen, a senior marketing major from Coeur d'Alene, and Gonclaves were found dead on the same bed at the King's Road home on November 13th, 2022. Mogen, the revelation likely means that the defense has more in their arsenal with additional DNA finds, said Misty Morris, an attorney who has closely followed the Kohberger case. The fingernail DNA may not actually be related to the crime, she said. When you see it under the fingernails, the argument is going to be that there's a scratch that somebody fought back, Morris explained. From the prosecution perspective, the argument is, well, it's not necessarily, because there's lots of different ways DNA can end up somewhere. The defense states that they did independent lab testing that excluded Kohberger from the DNA mixture, according to the following. However, the defense admits that this evidence was presented to a grand jury by prosecutors as they were seeking an indictment in early 2023. They also write, the state argued that the testimony was presented to the grand jury as exculpatory in an effort to elicit favorable evidence for Mr. Kohberger. At this point, the court has not posted a response from prosecutors. The prosecution has an ethical obligation and duty to turn over everything that can be exculpatory Morris said the defense will likely argue that there is reasonable doubt that Kohberger committed the murders, she said. Their argument is going to be that once that investigative genetic genealogy match was made and Kohberger was identified, the law enforcement essentially put on blinders, Morris said. They didn't care about anything else so much so that they didn't even care that there is additional DNA evidence, both at the property and now on the person of one of the students. To prove reasonable doubt, the defense will likely argue that there was a significant failure in the investigation to pursue any and all possible paths to find the culprit of the heinous crime, Morris said. You have this entirely other set of potential DNA that could have led investigators, had they pursued it, to somebody else, and that's going to be a huge component of the argument, she said. The revelation comes as several pieces of DNA evidence have been challenged by the defense. The prosecutor's most important piece of evidence is a DNA sample taken from a knife sheath left at the crime scene. Investigators then used investigative genetic genealogy, a forensic field combining DNA analysis with genealogical research, to connect that sample to Kohberger's family. According to prosecutors, subsequent DNA testing found Kohberger was a statistical match to the sample, leading to his arrest, according to prosecutors. To combat that evidence, his defense team has repeatedly questioned the use, legality, and accuracy of the DNA testing done in each step of the process. In a closed hearing last Monday, testimony from several witnesses raised questions about how investigators had used the DNA sample from the knife sheath to identify Kohberger as a suspect. Further, the defense addition of Barlow to its legal team bolsters their expertise on the topic. So I'm going to stop sharing that picture of Maddie. And I just want to go over a few things. My interest in this article, of course, is because there's 3 unknown DNA mixture of persons, right? Can there be separation so that the mixture can identify the 3 different individual DNAs? Can that happen? Can you compare whatever the result is to Bryan Kohberger? And also, can that information be uploaded to see if there's a possible DNA match for the identified DNA, right? If law enforcement has known since the crime, since the autopsies, that there were 3 other unknown DNAs, a mixture, what steps did they do to identify those unknown DNA samples? What did they do? Or what did they not do? Did they go far enough? Did they look for other suspects? Because as I've said before, and I have a video on, I did a video about the 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 problems with touch DNA, right? How easy you can have touch DNA. Is it blood on that? Is it blood on the knife sheath? Is it skin cells on the knife sheath? Is it saliva on the knife sheath? What is the source, right? We know it's touch DNA, but more specifically, if there's a smudge, if there are skin cells, we want to know exactly, right? But not just that. In the placement, in the finding or the identifying of the knife sheath, in this incredibly violent, vicious attack on the third floor against Kaylee and Maddie. How is there no blood on the knife sheath? Even if the knife sheath was allegedly left, allegedly dropped, allegedly fell off, fell out, fell onto the surface of the comforter, the bed, um, near the girls, on the girls, why is there not any blood on that knife sheath? You have to go from the perspective of common sense. When a crime scene is extremely violent, a stabbing. I have shown you pictures in the past from the O.J. Simpson trial of the stabbing of Nicole Simpson and Mr. Goldman. You can see, and that is two victims brutally stabbed in the walk-up of Nicole Simpson's house outside. That is an open crime scene. When you have a closed scene, meaning a bedroom, as in the Idaho 4 on the third floor, the blood is going to be on the walls, the ceiling. There's blinds, the window. If there's the bed, of course, the comforter, the pillows, if there's a table, the floor, if there are objects out, a dresser, a chair, blood is going to be everywhere because blood, it flings. When the knife goes in and you pull it out, it drips. When the knife, if it comes down and then you pull it out, it's going to fling, it's going to cast off. So blood is going to be everywhere. The killer or killers or assailant or assailants, they're going to be essentially covered in blood. The blood is going to be in their hair, on their face, or if they had a mask on, it's going to be on the mask. It's going to be in the crevices and in their ears, their shirt. It's going to be in their shoes, their shoelaces. They're going to be stepping footprints into blood. What happened to the shoe impression? Allegedly the van shoe. What happened to the tire impression? Did those tire impressions match Bryan Kohberger's car, his tire, the size of his tire, the make of the tire, the design of the tire? Does the shoe size match Bryan Kohberger's shoe? Did the style of the shoe, did you find that at his home, at his apartment, at his office? We have to get down to the physical evidence, right? We want to know, where is the match? Where is the connection? Where are the connectors? Because we keep hearing about more evidence that does not connect Bryan Kohberger. Again, this could be nothing. This clipping, this swab could be nothing. But what was the swab a source of? Was it blood? Was the swab a blood source? Or was the mixture a mixture of blood? Was the sample blood? Because you don't really get saliva under nail clippings. You could have skin cells, but was it blood? Did Maddie Mogen fight back? Did she fight the attacker? Because from what has been described, they said that Maddie Mogen was found in the bed, that the stabbings occur, and maybe the killer or killers were on top of her or holding her down because she was found in the bed, or was she placed in the bed? You have to analyze the blood, the direction of the blood, the flow of the blood. Did she ever get out of the bed? Was she just attacked while sleeping, never even being able to get up? Because we know that Kaylee had received a massive number, allegedly over 50 stabbings. Did she have stabbings on her arms, her hands, and her upper body, and her face and her head? That would indicate that she would be standing. We know that she was found in the bed, but was she placed in the bed? all of this that I'm discussing, it matters. It matters to the analysis of how the crime was committed. It even can indicate if there is possibly more than one assailant. Were some of these students held down? Were multiple people involved? Were the stabbings such that when the knife went through, it hit the mattress? What is the direction of the blood droplets? Was it droplets? Was it falling to the ground? Was it on the floor? Or were all the droplets in the bed? Was Kaylee and Maddie's blood only in the bed, or was it on the floor? And even if the killer did kill them both in the bed, was there a trail of droplets from the assailant or assailants walking away? Because there's going to be a clear path of them leaving that third floor, maybe through a window, or did they use the steps? And would you see the bloody shoe prints going from the third floor down to the second floor, out of the house or out of a window? It's a lot of questions, and it's very significant that we don't have the answers when there's unknown DNA, because maybe law enforcement didn't look for another suspect. Maybe they thought they had their suspect. But we do know that they did not arrest Bryan Kohberger until right before New Year's. So from November 13th to right before New Year's, I think it was on December 30th, they arrested Bryan Kohberger. What was happening? When was the autopsy done? When was those unknown DNA samples found? Why weren't they looked into more? A lot of questions, right? We don't have the answers. But I do agree with the defense that if that is not Bryan Kohberger's DNA, what is the need to submit it as evidence at the trial? Because what will it do? It could possibly mislead the jury, but also confuse them. Or are you introducing the idea that there could be multiple killers? I say try them separately. Find them and try them. Don't introduce evidence that's not relating to your alleged killer, even if you believe there's multiple killers. Because if that's not his DNA, it has no business being in the trial. That's just my opinion. Please let me know what you think. I am going to come back, not today, but I am going to do a video about the other DNA evidence that is unknown, the alleged DNA evidence on the handrail. I believe that was blood. And then the alleged DNA evidence in the glove, which is also supposed to be blood. These are two also unknown DNA samples. Like, what is going on? Why wasn't this DNA processed? Is it because you couldn't find a match or you didn't try to find a match? Those are two different outcomes, and we'll talk about it. And then I'm also going to talk about what was recently released, which is some of the information relating to the 911 call. I have information in prior videos about that and what could have been on the 911 call. And also, what I never introduced on this platform, which has now been confirmed, the two alive roommates, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Frank, they were texting. I'm not going to say they were texting at the time of the murders because we don't actually know the time of the murders. We need to still know the time of the murders, the time of death, because anybody can text after the murders. Were they texting during the commission of the stabbings, during the crime? We don't know. But we have those text messages, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to go over it. So there's about, I would say, 2 or 3 more videos just relating to some of the new evidence. Well, not new evidence, but the evidence that's coming out through these motions. We're going to talk about that. I was going to do videos going over again the deaths of Ethan and Zayna, Kaylee and Maddie, and then the comparison with Bethany Frank and Dylan Mortensen. I may still do that. I still have those as pending because I had a video when I did the collection to break down my ideas about who I thought killed the Idaho 4. And I was going to do those 3 videos, and I'm not saying I'm not going to do them, but there's so much happening now, and I'm extremely busy. I just don't have the time. But if you go through my collection, there's about 6 or 7 videos that I did. Um, it will go over what I was going to focus on more, okay? So that is all for today. Thank you for spending this time with me. I really, really appreciate it. I want you to stay safe, stay smart, stay savvy, be well, all my friends. Have a beautiful day. Bye, everybody. Bye.